Let's dive into Theo's training so that we can stay consistent at home. So, whenever he's offering behaviors that we want to keep on seeing, that could be just following our commands, being polite, anything like that. We want to make sure that we are rewarding him with praise, petting, treats, anything that he enjoys, so that he understands that we want to see these behaviors more often. And then, if he's ever offering behaviors that we don't want to see as much, that could be jumping on people, whining, breaking any of our commands, anything like that. We want to make sure that we're following through with our training equipment. That way, we can communicate with him and let him know that, hey, we don't like those behaviors, and we'll see those positive ones more often. So, starting off, this is his prong collar. This collar will be on him anytime he has that leash on. So, at first, that might be in the house, but anytime that leash is on, it's on this prong collar. And then this one is going to be the one that sits highest up on his neck, closest to his ears. And then the leash will attach to the swiveling D-ring right here. And then to put it on and off of him, what you'll do is you'll hold one of these links, slide the one next to it up until you see these two little loops. You'll grab those loops and slide them out. To put it back on, you'll line the two prongs up with those two loops and slide it back through just like that. And then say he's offering any of those unwanted behaviors, what we're going to do is we're going to mark that behavior by saying no, and then follow through with a pop of the prong collar. So say he's pulling a little bit ahead on that walk and we need him to come back to us, we'll say no, pop him on the leash, and then continue on with our walk. This right here is his remote collar. And then how it works to turn it on and off, you'll see this little red dot on the side of the remote, and then this little red dot on the side of the collar. You'll touch those two together, and then it'll turn on. That green light means it's on. If you see it flash red, that means it's off. And then to turn on the remote itself, you'll press and hold this L button on the back until that screen turns on. To turn it off, it's that same thing. You'll press and hold that L button, and then when the screen turns off, the remote is off. So I have him on a level 13 right now. So this works in a very similar way to the prong collar. So whenever he's offering any of those unwanted behaviors, we're going to mark it by saying no, but instead of giving him a pop, we can give him this little black S button. So no, and then black S button, and then continuing with whatever we're doing. And then let's go over his commands. So first we have our sit stay and our down stay. So both sit and down have implied stays. So once we tell him either sit or down, he has to stay into that position until we release him. His release word is break, so he has to stay there until we tell him break, and then we can move on with whatever we're working on. So, for example, say you have him in a sit while you're getting ready to go out the door. If you reach the door and he gets up, we're going to put him back in that sit, and then try again until he gets it right. Same thing with down. If we have him down in public or even at home, if he gets up for whatever reason, we're going to try to make that distraction happen again so that we can practice it. And then once he perfects it, then we can move on and release him. Alrighty, and then next we have heel. So heel is that nice loose leash walking position on our right-hand side. So whenever he's in that position, we want to make sure that we're rewarding him with praise, petting, or treats so that he understands that's exactly where we want him to be. If he goes a little too far ahead of us, to the side, or starts just doing anything funky, we're going to give him a little pop with the prong collar or that little black S button to let him know that, hey, you went too far, or hey, you're being a little too funky, come back and we're going to continue on our walk. Usually during a walk, we only have him in that heel position around 80 or 90% of the time. The other 10 and 20%, he'll be in that break command. So that just means that he's able to go sniff, do his business, hang out, anything like that, but he's still not allowed to offer any of those unwanted behaviors. So he's still not allowed to jump on you, nibble on your fingers, anything like that. And if he does, we're going to follow through. That way we can let him understand that, hey, we don't like that. We're going to keep offering those good behaviors. And then next we have place. Place is a boundary stay. So whenever he's on his place bed, he has to stay up there with all four paws until we release him. So if he could be sitting, he could be standing. Ideally, he'll be laying down. But as long as he's up there, not offering any of those bad behaviors, he's good to go. This one especially is helpful for if you have family coming over or if you're watching dinner. Even if you had a hard day at work and you just need a minute alone, you can send him to place. It's kind of like a crate with no walls. And then next we have recall. So whenever we're practicing his come when called command, we want to make sure we have a leash on him. That way, if he decides he's going to test us a little bit and stay out of our space, stay distracted, we have a way to let him know, hey, if I call you, you have to come back. So whenever we call him to us, he's going to run to us and sit. Once he's in that sit position, we can reward from our hand and then release him to go explore again. And then say we call him to us and he looks at us and he's like, nah, I'm not going to come this time. What we're going to do is we're going to reel him in just like a fish so that he comes back to our space and understands that boundary is still there. And then that's why it's super important to have that leash on. And then next we have leave it. So leave it as well, we're gonna have that leash on when we practice it. That way, if he decides he's gonna test us and go for whatever distraction we're using, we can use that leash to set that very firm boundary. So for example, whenever you're introducing it at home, you can use little dog treats, maybe a toy, something like that. You're gonna toss it away from him and tell him leave it nice and firm. Once he goes into a sit or a down position, you're gonna reward him from your hand. If it's an object he's allowed to have, then you can tell him break and let him go get that object. But if it's something he's not allowed to have, we're going to keep him in that stay until we can go get that object to pick it up off the floor so that he can't get it. So that's also why it's super important to have him on that leash. That way, since he's in that stay or down stay, he can't get up from that position until we release him so that we can manage getting him to stay in that position, even if there's something else exciting going on. And that is all of his commands, so let's watch him do them out in public. Let's go over some of the other features of his remote collar. So I already went over how to turn it on and off, but just a refresher, to turn it on and off, you'll find those little red dots, one on the side of the remote, one on the collar, and you'll touch those two together. If it flashes green, that means it's on. If it flashes orange, that means it must be charged soon. And then if it flashes red, that means it is off. And then on the remote itself, there's quite a few buttons. The on and off button is this L button on the back. If you tap it once, it'll have that flashlight setting flashing on. If you tap it again, it will have that solid light. A third time will turn it off. And then that press and hold is what turns the remote itself off. On the side right here, you'll see that black S button and that red S button. The black S button is going to be your normal use. So if he's offering any of those unwanted behaviors, we're going to tell him no, tap that button, and then continue on with whatever we're doing. This red S button is for emergencies only. So say he's running up the road, he's really not listening to us, and it's a very important situation and we need him to listen. What we're going to do is we're going to tap that red button so that we can communicate with him. What it does is it jumps whatever level he's on 25 from there. So if he's on level 25, for example, it jump him up to level 50. So that will match his adrenaline if it's something super crazy going on and he's set on being distracted. And then, so that one's going to be emergencies only, and then the black S button is going to be your normal use. On the other side, there's that black T button. That's the vibrate setting, so if you tap it, it'll vibrate the collar. I use that setting for if I don't know if I turn on the collar or not, to tell if it's dead, or even if he's in a mood where he's whining a lot, you can use that to break up the whining. He'll be like, oh, what happened? And then you can reward when he's quiet. And then on the back right here at the bottom, there's that little flap for charging it. You can stick that little port right there. And then on the collar, it is between these two prongs right here at the top. It does stay charged for quite a while. This collar will be the first thing on in the morning and the last thing on at night. So whenever we're home with him, we're going to have this on him so that if we need to communicate with him for whatever reason, we're able to. And then it does stay charged, like I mentioned, for a while. If you have it on him for full 12-hour days, it'll stay charged for 2 or 3 days at a time. It only takes about an hour or two to charge, so it's super easy to help keep charged. But yeah, anytime that he's either in a crate, alone, anything like that, you can take it off of him. But if you're just home hanging out with him, let him wear it. That way, if he starts to offer any behaviors that we don't want to see, we're still able to follow through and communicate with him. And then it is waterproof, so if he's enjoying any kind of water activity, that's totally fine. I would just recommend rotating where the collar sits on his neck, just so that it doesn't create any sores. But other than that, you guys are all set to have fun and stay consistent.